Hello again, Broncos country. Another work week has come and gone, and we are back for another Sunday football game for your Denver Broncos. We have the Atlanta Falcons visiting the Denver Broncos in Mile High, coming all the way up to the nice Mile High air. If you want to say, how's the weather out there, David?
Beautiful day, Jared. We are probably going to end up in the high 50s for a high today. Lots of sunshine, a little breezy, but not too bad. I think this is fall football weather in Denver. Absolutely what you want to see.
It's exactly what you want to see. And guys, we are here to break down and talk about this upcoming matchup. The game starts here in about 1 hour. You are watching the Bourbon Broncos and No BS Tailgate Talk, brought to you by the Orange Weekly Broadcast Network, here on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you get your amazing David and Jared Tailgate Talks. Make sure you guys are posting your questions, comments, concerns. We want to be here to talk to you. That's why we do this. We want to hear your thoughts on this upcoming game. And we can't do that if you don't give us your thoughts. So please let us know what you're thinking as we go into this. But as David had astutely noticed before I hit that go live,
I love that.
Before I did hit that live button, I am wearing the Javonte Williams jersey today. I don't like this whole talk around Broncos country right now that Javonte is getting phased out and he's not the lead running back anymore. I think he is. And I think he's going to have a big game today.
All right. I think we heard Joe Lombardi specifically say that they wanted to get Estime some more work after what he showed last week. So we'll see about that, Jared. But who knows? He could be switching things up on the Falcons, giving them something to think about during the week and then showing them something different on game day. Could be a very clever ploy. Or we could both be wrong, and like Spotty said, we'll see a ton of Jaleel McLaughlin today, and that'll be, Look, I really do.
I will say this. I do love the idea that we have 3 running backs back there. And if we just ride the hot hand, I really don't care as long as we get the win and they're running well. If we're running 4 or 5 yards per carry, I don't care who's carrying the ball. But I do love me some Javonte Williams, and I think he's really good. Allison here, this is, the big elephant in the room here. Justin Simmons making his debut return back to Mile High. And, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really tough to see him in a different uniform, but I have a feeling the fans there, right? Broncos country is going to give him a very warm welcome back. He's loved in Broncos country regardless of what happened. He didn't leave on weird terms. It was just, time for him to move on. It was a business deal, and he's coming back to his old stadium. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's real sad, right? Obviously, he came out and said this week it was like, Denver's still going to be his home. Denver is the place where he wants his career to always continue. In his heart. And so, obviously he's a Bronco for life, no matter what uniform he's wearing. Obviously he's going to retire a member of this team. I think, even if it's just that ceremonial thing they do. It's hard though. And it's specifically hard because now you've got him going, a savvy veteran like that, who we all know how he can play when he's on one. Teamed up with Jesse Bates against this Broncos offense that has the rookie quarterback. Now, your rookie quarterback has gone out there and steadily improved in week to week and played tougher defenses than this, quite frankly, and shown at least some success. So I continue to think this is good. This is a good chance for the Broncos to have a really good day offensively. But yeah, seeing Justin Simmons back there is going to be really, really bittersweet. And if he does, we don't want this to happen, I don't think. But if he does manage to intercept Bo Nix at any point, I feel like there'll be some mixed feelings in Broncos country.
Yeah, it'll be real tough, like that, watching the interception if it does happen and being like, ouch. But he's been very good against rookie quarterbacks in his career, right? Playing for us, he knows how to read him, he knows how to follow him. So, and he's a student of the game. He's watching those Bo Nix tapes and finding out where he's looking and why.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't. I really hope he, has kind of just like a mediocre game. And we could just kind of ride off in the sunset with a win, and having him back in the building is big too. But yeah, him and Jesse Bates in the backfield, that's a tough matchup. I think what you're going to see on the offensive side of this is going to be the quick ball, the quick game. We're not going to take a lot of deep shots unless we know it's wide open. And not for nothing, Bo Nix has been doing a pretty good job of that, at least in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Not taking the deep shot unless it's perfectly open. He's not taking huge risks. And he's reading the field pretty well. So we got that going for us.
Well, I'll push back a little bit on that. I think they will try. I mean, I think they'll try to scheme up specifically some deep shots for him to take. I think they'll go for a deep play action shot play at least a couple of times, because I think they're just going to have so little effect from the pass rush. And they look at that and say, even with that secondary, you can only cover for so long. Right. And especially if you're missing 2 out of your top 3 cornerbacks like the Falcons are to injury today. Right. I think they might try to take advantage of that a little bit. Sean Payton might try to get in his bag against a former division rival who he's played a bunch of times. But we'll see. Joey here. We've got a little bit of a difference of opinion between you and our intrepid host here, Joey. He's not consistent enough with his vision to be a bell cow back as Williams. I think there's been times you've seen Williams's consistency with his vision be a little bit less than you want to see, Jared. I also think that, what I would say, before I turn it over to you, because I know you have a lot of thoughts, so I'm going to let you go, but it's just a second. I really do think that one of the things we just haven't seen come back the way that it used to be in Javonte Williams' career is his ability to break tackles, right? After that knee injury, especially, I haven't seen it the way we could see it in the early part of his career. You see flashes of it, right? Like two in a couple of weeks or something like that. And then it just it's a lot of 1 yard gains and 2 yard gains. And that's how I'll turn it over to you, Jared. I just don't see that tackle breaking the way it used to be.
Yeah, so I'll say this in the New Orleans, was it New Orleans or Carolina? Which game did he have a pretty good game in? Was it New Orleans or Carolina?
New Orleans, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that game, you saw him breaking some pretty good tackles, and he was getting. I think his yards after first contact was actually pretty good in that game, and you started to see it come back, and then all of a sudden you started seeing him getting the ball less and less. And yeah, the Ravens game is another one that one's tough just because we didn't really run the ball very well. We weren't really setting up the run. We got down real quick, so it was kind of hard to set up a run game. And as far as seeing the field, I don't know, man. Like, so watching the games live, I've gone back and watched a couple of them afterwards, watched the film. I don't know if it's so much of him. It's not like he's missing open holes, right? If it's a power to the right and you're getting the ball in a certain area, it's not that easy to come back to the backside, right? You have to follow your blockers. It's not like he could just cut back. I don't think I've seen him just miss a cut or miss the capability to run through, which is why, again, he is a power back. And we have Jaleel McLaughlin as kind of our scat back, right? He's the kind of guy that's going to be quicker hitting those holes than Javonte or even Estime, right? Who's more of a power back style as well. I don't think he's missing those. I don't think it's his vision. I think really it comes to matchup. And I think the one thing that Sean Payton's really doing here is he's looking at the matchup and what running back is going to have a better game. And if Estime had a better game last week, and again, he did, I think he had 4 yards per carry, 3.9 yards per carry. Then keep giving him the ball. Why not, right? He's obviously seeing something. Let him keep seeing it until it doesn't work, right? So I think that's kind of what he's running down. And I think, is Javonte on a contract year this year as well?
I can't remember. I'll be honest with
you.
I
do not remember.
It's possible. Yeah.
So,
it's possible. And to be frank with you, this running back draft is good. And I think the Broncos are not going to be shy about picking at best player positions on offense, even in rooms that you think might be set. Like, I think they're going to go and try to really improve this team through the draft that way this year. This is an interesting.
Stop talking about that. This is a talk for Tuesday night show. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about this, depending on what happens this game. But let's talk about what's coming up with Atlanta. I think there's a couple of good points here. I like Michael Bates's comment here. This is something I asked for last week. Actually, I've asked for the last 2 weeks, and we saw it. We saw it in the Kansas City game. Michael says if it comes down to the fourth quarter, put the game in Bo's hands. We definitely could have won last week. He had the ball 5 minutes, took down the clock the entire time, got a couple big third down conversions. I think there was one 3rd and 9 with a beautiful time played of Vele. It's exactly what you want to see in any quarterback. Somebody that, hey, the ball is in your hands. We're not giving the ball back to them. You go down and win this game. And he did it last week.
Yeah.
That's the big win that we took out while we walked away with an L on the scoreboard. With big win we took away last week is our offense has the capability of winning these games.
Yeah.
Minus the terrible snafu with the field goal, we would have won that game. So I agree, Michael. If it does come down close, I want to see the ball in Bo's hands. And even if it is 2 minutes, he's going to be able to milk the clock. I think he showed a good time with time management in that game too. Something the Broncos aren't super great at seeing in the past.
Well, and now years, I wonder. I mean, now I wonder if you get this same end of game situation, if you do see Sean Payton get a little bit more aggressive as far as like trying to score a touchdown as opposed to even trying to like kick a 30 or 40 yard field goal. Like, I think they had 30, 40 seconds, right, on that they just got to use up because the Chiefs didn't have any timeouts left. So,
yeah, they let it click down all the way down to the thing. Now, but I also have faith that Sean Payton had some choice words for special teams coaches after looking at the film and everything that, Broncos country has seen on Twitter and everything, and all the times that he's gotten knocked down. I feel like they may have fixed that problem after it got shown to the national audience multiple times on ESPN in that game. So I'd like to hope that we fixed whatever issue that was on that left side, but that is what it is. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Andrew talking about Cousins. We talked about this on the pregame podcast. Quick plug for that. If you guys aren't subscribed, please go to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, and hit that subscribe button. It might be, we're going to talk a lot about what we talked about on the pregame today, so you can just keep viewing here and commenting, but hit that subscribe button to help us out a little bit and listen to us as we do pregame, postgame content on there. But we did talk about Cousins not being a mobile quarterback. He's lost a lot of mobility.
Yes.
I agree. I think we can get big sacks. I think our defensive line can get back there, but we have to be careful because they also have some weapons at wide receiver.
They've got weapon. You were talking about it. Bijan Robinson is such a weapon out of the backfield receiving for them this year. A big part of it is because Kirk Cousins is so immobile that he dumps that pass off really, really quickly. And you've got to make sure you're tackling well on Bijan and not letting him escape you and get out into space, because that could be a troubling matchup. Joey has maybe a good prediction here. Troy Franklin could have a big game. That might be a spicy one. He does have Devon Bailey and Troy Franklin. We are going to see them a lot today again, guys. And we talked about it earlier. The Falcons are missing, I think, their slot cornerback and one of their starting outside cornerbacks. So they are going to be a little bit banged up in that secondary. You might see one of these rookie receivers, have a big day, Jared.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it. I want to see Bailey get. Obviously, anytime he gets looked at, he's getting some big catches. He's a guy that isn't dropping things. He's finding ways to keep the ball. And I want to see him get more involved. I feel like they're trying to get Mims more involved. The more they get Mims involved, they're doing a lot of more of like the jet sweeps, stuff like that with him. But they've been passing him the ball too. So yeah, I'd be interested. I think Franklin could have a big game today. I think we air it out quite a bit, but I also think we end up on the ground a lot. They have one of the worst run defenses in the league, and one of the not better, but probably mid-range pass defense. We talk about Justin Simmons in the backfield. So I do feel like we're going to have to open up that pass, and Franklin having a big game, that'd be awesome. Yeah, he needs it. It's about time. He needs a big game. He's had a couple drops. He's had a couple miscues. So it'd be nice to see him get in that.
For sure.
While we're talking about injuries on the defensive front for the Atlanta Falcons, let's talk about the Broncos injuries. Inactives today. I'll go ahead and down the list. We have cornerback Chris Abrams, tackle Frank Crum, tight end Greg Dulcich. Again, I guess healthy scratch.
Just you seeing Lucas Kroll go out there and contribute something. It's nothing. He's not doing anything at a top average or even above average level, but he's not actively hurting the team when he's out there, and it feels like that's kind of what Dulcich was doing.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you're no. It sucks because we wanted him to be big, right? We drafted him pretty high, so we wanted him to be the guy, but he's just not doing it. We got a guard, Throckmorton. I think he's a healthy scratch. Defensive end, still. Quarterback Zach Wilson is not dressed for this game. And then the big one, David, as of this morning, Brandon Jones not suited up, so it looks like we're going to see probably a lot of Key in the backfield. Who it was tough. He had a tough game against the Ravens when he had to step in there. So I don't know. That's a hard one for me. It's a hard pill to swallow for the defense. Hopefully Key can step up and make those plays.
Yeah, and hopefully that pass rush is able to get home quickly. Hopefully they're designing up some more blitzes, that kind of stuff, to make sure they're getting home on Cousins, who, as we talked about, not mobile. So getting the ball out or making him hold, that'll be really key. No pun intended. But yes, you're right. It is going to be Devon Key, and at least PJ Locke is back there. Maybe Key was playing a little bit out of position. Maybe they thought of him as more like a swing safety, but he does one kind better than the other kind, and maybe that's kind of what you hang your hat on there, Broncos country. Maybe he just has a bounce back game. So yeah, but you obviously you'd prefer to have Brandon Jones, Broncos leading tackler, by the way, in there. So we'll see how that goes. What do you think, Jared, is going to happen when the Falcons are just trying to line up and run it against the Broncos? Like, the only team we've really see do that with success this year consistently is the Ravens. And while Bijan Robinson is good, but he is a different back running style wise than Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah, and that's what makes me nervous about the calls for the five sacks in the first half. Anthony calling 5 sacks in the first half and thinking it's going to be a big sack game. We're going to have to be able to play gap sound defense. It's really what it's going to come down to. If he gets to the second level, it's going to be very, very tough to stop. Yeah. Our defensive line really has to be able to stop him at the line, or at least get first contact at or behind the line of scrimmage. If we don't, he opens up, it's going to be a long, long day for us, and they're going to control the clock, and they're just going to run the ball. Bijan's going to have 25, 30 carries in a game. Yeah. And that's not what you want to see. And that's, I think, probably my biggest worry about this offense. Obviously, I think they're ranked 4th offense overall. Kirk Cousins is throwing the ball well, and that a lot of it comes down to Bijan Robinson just being a really good running back, and their offensive line opening up holes for him. So that's actually probably one of the biggest worries I have for this game is that run game.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. They're going to have to be really, really gap sound. Those linebackers are going to have to be in the right position. It's going to be big for Sternad and Barton. I think they've also elevated Zach Cunningham, and I don't know if Quan Alexander is active for this game or not.
They put up 2. I forget who it was.
Right. Yeah. I think it might have been Quan and Zach, but either way, they've got some guys to rotate in there if they don't think that they are getting effective results in the run game, right? So we'll see. Let's talk about, Jared, what everybody has wanted to talk about before we get to Andrew's comment, because we'll do it quickly. The uniforms today, Jared. I tell you what, you say what you want about the new uniforms. I still like them, but I do like the amount of customization that the players get to go for every week. Like the tops are preset, but you get to choose your pants. You get to choose the socks combo. It all kind of adds up differently in different ways. And so I'm liking the orange tops, orange pants, blue socks today, Jared. How are you feeling?
Yeah. I'm interested to see what it looks like on the field. I've been pleasantly surprised every time we have a uniform. I'm like, what is happening? Like, this seems like such a weird combo. And then they get out there and they look clean and they look good. Feel good, play good, I hope. Is really the concept here. For me, the uniforms are kind of like right? Like, except for the throwback uniforms.
Throwbacks, obviously.
Those are on fire.
I think my position on those is clear.
Yes, very much.
All right. Now, to Andrew's comment, Kelsey had a pretty good game against us. In context, because the Chiefs' offense was still pretty average on that day at best. But how will Pitts be covered today? That touchdown to Kelsey on that 4th down play, it felt like Jaquan McMillan knew where he was supposed to be. He just fell down. And we all know there have been struggles in keeping that Kansas City field in the past. Now, I don't want to make excuses for Jaquan McMillan. You still got to make that play. It's 4th down. But it really more might be about the safeties, right? It might be about Brandon Jones, who we've seen in coverage, I feel like, on tight ends a lot this season. So is Devon Key going to be able to match up with Kyle Pitts, who has had a good year, even though I don't know if he'll ever measure up to the hype that he got when coming out of the draft, right? I don't know if that's going to be his fault or not, because he's just but he's having a good year overall. So I think that could be another matchup to watch for the Broncos if Kirk Cousins has enough time to get the ball to him, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like we're broken records here at Orange Weekly ever since we came on, 8 years ago, whatever it was, 7 years ago. We have had problems covering tight ends for years, and this is no different. And it sucks. I think we're doing better than we have in years past. There's been years where it didn't matter who the tight end was; they were going to have a 100-yard game. I think we're doing a little bit better in that, but I also have a lot of faith in the defense to be able to scheme something up, right?
Yeah.
I think they've been doing pretty good jobs of scheming. I think the only time they didn't scheme well / it just didn't work out for them was the Ravens game. The scheme just didn't match what we're good at. And there was a lot of miscues, but I think if we go back to our normal man type, I think we'll be able to cover him. The thing is too, we have a Kirk Cousins back there who can deliver the ball. He's not mobile. He's not one of those quarterbacks that we got to worry about running, but he's a guy who can put the ball exactly where it needs to be. He just has that perfect ball placement that he's been doing it so well all season. That's what we got to worry about is we're not going to be able to get the short throws. We're not going to be able to get the miscues or whatever the case is. Not with this team. The best case we have for that is on known pass plays. We just got to get pressure on him and get him to the quarterback to make him get him off his balance so that the throw is not perfect, because he's going to be able to. He's just going to dice us if we don't.
For sure. I think we have been talking a lot about the Broncos defense against the Falcons offense. And I want to kind of go back to the discussion of the run game a little bit for the Broncos, but in a not as in more of a meta view of like, is that going to go well? Like, do you think we're going to be able to run the ball effectively against this Falcons team in general? They have the 24th ranked defense overall. They allow 352 yards total. Let me see where their rushing defense is at. That's
pretty low.
20.
I think. Yeah.
They're allowing 129.3 yards per game on the ground. So, I mean, is that the way you want to see this Broncos team set it up today? You want to go at them run first?
Yeah. The game plan is absolutely good. I don't think there's any question about the game plan here. The game plan is going to be just pound the rock, open up some pass plays, open up some quick throws, open up the play action, make them stack the box, right? We have two pretty good safeties back there, but if you have to go single high, that means that we're doing something right? If we can get them into some sort of single high look, then with just Justin Simmons back there, then that's when we did our job, right? As far as scheming, we just got to be able to run the ball. We got to get 3.5 yards per carry would be awesome. Get a couple big breaks, couple 10-yard runs, 12-yard, 15-yard runs, make them load the box, make them come up so that we can open up the pass game. And that's 100% what they're going to go at this. And unless, God forbid, something happens and we go down early and you see something where we're starting to pass the ball because we feel like we have to catch up. But I think running the ball is the key to the offense this week.
Yeah.
Which about that?
Absolutely. All right, Clayton, thanks for joining us. Super fan as always. Appreciate you being here. Clayton's feeling good about things in Broncos country right now. Jared, he thinks we've got our QB playing good. That the O-line, I think, has allowed the fewest pressures of any offensive line this year so far. He says Bo's got that swag. So yeah, how are you feeling about trajectory wise? How things are going?
I think the O-line is loving the fact that they have an athletic quarterback back there. I think that's a big part of not allowing a lot of pressures is Bo, and something that Sean Payton mentioned in one of the one of his media days this week was moving the pocket. Right, they're focusing on trying to move the pocket in different places, so it's not just a stagnant pocket to where they one trick ponies and they can get to him. And I think that's been working out for him very well, and the offensive line. I think just overall the scheme has really worked out for him. I'm also we talked about this on Tuesday. Very, very confident in the way that we're going, where we are right now in a what is supposed to be a complete rebuild year, right? Yeah. I'm pretty confident in our team right now. We talked about the P word a couple times. We'll talk about more of that on Tuesday's show, not today. But yeah, I think Bo is really showing up, and as Allison says, he's looking like if he keeps this up and he keeps improving the way he is, he's a candidate for Rookie of the Year.
I'll tell you,
that's a guy you want on your team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the way Caleb Williams is playing, and I think he is playing better today after they fire the offensive coordinator, but he's got to play his way back into that race at the moment. Jaden Daniels has been for sure affected by a rib injury that is really kind of hurting his production right now. So yeah, Bo, if Bo puts together a nice little stretch here, you're definitely talking about a potential Rookie of the Year candidate. And what I've seen from him specifically the last few weeks is a willingness to step up in the pocket and stop. Because, a lot of time, he's a good runner and he loves that. But there are also plays to be had down the field if you can step up and look in the middle of the field in this offense. And he's been able to do that consistently better. without just kind of bailing out and running. And there have been situations where he's been under pressure and he's had to navigate the pocket, but he's doing it.
Yeah.
And even those plays where you saw him drift, I think, not drift really necessarily, they were just free rushers. Those two sacks last week against the Chiefs where they lost like 35 yards combined. I mean, honestly, it was they had free rushers coming at him, and that it was already a rollout that got blown up by the free rusher. It always looks bad that way. But you really do see him, I think, getting much more comfortable in this offense and kind of trusting his timing in the offense to say, a play will be here if I can extend a little bit. I don't have to extend all the way and run 15 yards down the field. If I can just make things happen for a little bit back here, something will happen for me out downfield.
Yeah, what I'm super impressed with is his ability to learn, right? He had a couple of problems early on in the season and not getting his feet set. And I think that's a lot of part of what you're seeing him stepping up into the pocket and being able to step up and actually create a pocket is just learning that doesn't work. It works in college. It doesn't work in the NFL. And you have to be able to set up. And if you step up into the pocket, you have a better chance to set your feet because you don't have someone coming in behind you. And as long as that, the center guard combos are protecting the front lines, then you can step up and be able to make that throw and set your feet. And I think that's something that we've really seen. I think that's what, between that and his field vision of being able to find the open receivers, is really what we're seeing him improve the most on. And I love it. I love seeing him being able to step up. And even on the times that he is getting flushed out, there's times where you're seeing him throw on the run much more accurately. You're seeing him set his feet much better when the pocket's being moved in a different direction, and they're all on the same page. As long as we continue being on the same page and grow from that, continue to learn from each other, it's going to be really hard to stop this Broncos offense in a year, 2 years. I fully believe that.
And something I really am glad about is that they didn't trade. At no point did they trade Courtland Sutton, because I think that he has been such a calming presence for Bo. Even on times where you see them. Like both of them sometimes are responsible for having not connected on big plays throughout the season. But they are also, I think they're also the closest, and Sutton is such an important veteran presence for him. He's been in the league for so long doing this with the same team. And he is really able to give him the experience of, this is what these quarterbacks behind me did that worked for us and what didn't work for us. And so now you've got that invaluable experience, and I'm so glad they've got him on the team.
Yeah, I mean, between him and you love him or hate him, Garrett Bowles being on that offensive line, those two are the huge veteran presence on that offense. Everybody else is either a newer guy or rookie. We have a lot of rookie running quarterbacks wide receivers. I think that having those two guys on that offense is really paying dividends to the Broncos going forward because and where he's looking. Like there's times like you could tell. Like third and medium, he's looking at Sutton. Like, what do we do here? Right. And he's being able to pull his experience on that. And I just love it. We talk about this game against Atlanta, and obviously we talk about there's a lot of holes that we can take advantage of from offensively with their defense, but they are a 6-4 team. Yeah. Right? This isn't a pushover game. This isn't a Panthers game. This isn't a New Orleans game where we're playing a team that's struggling. This is a team that's also aiming for a playoff spot in the NFC, and we need to be able to go out there and execute. And I think a lot of it comes down to Sean Payton. Sean Payton has played a lot of games against the Atlanta Falcons, and having his knowledge out there as well is going to be huge going forward. Who do you think scores first? Because I think that's really going to set the tone for this game. I'd love it for us to get. So last week we took the ball. Normally, we deferred to the second half because we wanted the ball. We didn't want to put the ball in Mahomes' hands for them to score first. And we did. We scored first, and I think we had the lead all the way up until they at the very end, until that 5-minute mark where we ended up getting the ball back. Is that the way that we're going to try to play this Atlanta Falcons? With their offense being as good as they are?
They might be. And maybe it's also a confidence thing, right? Maybe they really feel like they've got this offense in a place where they want to establish a tone right away. Yeah. Like, so if the Broncos were to win the toss, maybe it's another scenario where Sean Payton decides to take the ball and go at him. Right. And because I think, you're right. That is so important, that first score of the game to set the tone. And I think, even if the Broncos defense gets the ball and allows a field goal on that first drive, I think they come back feeling fairly confident. It would not surprise me to see Sean Payton go out and say, yeah, we're going to take the ball and we're going to try and go down the field and score right away.
Right.
I do think, you mentioned Sean Payton. I think the coaching matchup is a little bit interesting here because, Raheem Morris is somebody he played against a lot when they were in the NFC South. So it's not just kind of a familiarity with the team, but their coach also, and the way he plays defense. And I will say this, Raheem Morris has coached a lot of places since then and learned a lot of different things. So I don't know how similar of a scheme he's running, but also a lot of times coaches like that don't change drastically what they do year to year if what they do continues to have some success in the NFL. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if Sean Payton has that familiarity and that coaching advantage.
Yeah, I agree. I think honestly, having a head coach who has so much experience and having a defensive coordinator, I mean, Vance Joseph also has a lot of experience in playing a lot of different teams, coaching for a lot of different teams. And I think having that we talk about veteran presence on the field, but having that veteran presence on the sideline as well is really going to be an advantage, hopefully, as we go forward. I mean, look at the Kansas City game. Like, nobody thought we were going to be close in that game. And
yeah,
I think the scheme played out really well. The players played pretty well, enough to almost win the game at the end of the game. And I think that's what we're seeing. And, we talked about it on Tuesday's show. It was worth it, right? We gave up some draft picks for him, and it was worth it. I think for the long run, for having him and Bo together, it's going to pay dividends in the long run. And for
it's at least the right process, right? Like even if even if it flames out eventually and you have to start over, you gave you gave it the best shot that you had, and with the information you had at the time, you made the right decisions. So I appreciate the process, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about this offense. We talked about the running backs. We talked about Bo Nix. We talked about Franklin probably having a big game. Let's talk about this offensive line.
Yeah.
So their defensive line is not very good. I think they've laid last in the league in sacks.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have a total of 8 on the season.
9, I believe, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think this offensive line plays a big role in A, how much time Bo Nix is going to have to be able to throw the ball, but B, the run game, being able to open up those holes and being able to stay on your blocks. But also let's talk about, I think the next point I want to make here is we need to limit penalties. There's been too many times that we've shot ourselves in the foot, and you saw it early on in the Kansas City game, especially in that first half. We just kept shooting ourselves in the foot on time after time, whether it be a penalty, an illegal man downfield. I think we've had an illegal formation a couple times now. It's just little stuff like that we need to clean up, and we don't have those issues anymore. We keep the drive alive. We have third and mediums, third and shorts as opposed to third and longs, and that I think that's what I really want to see too. I want to see that cleaned up. The dumb penalties, right? Illegal man downfield. That's a dumb penalty.
It's a dumb penalty. Yeah.
Illegal formation. It's a dumb penalty. Like it's just like the holds, the pass interference. Sure, you're playing a ball. You're in the heat of it. I get it, right? You're trying to play football. You're trying to play the game.
Yeah.
But the stupid ones are the ones that we need to clean up, man. Like.
Yeah. No, totally agree. No notes, Jared. No notes on this point. It's immaculate. Yeah. Michael says he thinks. I mean, Bo Nix is having a better season than Elway. I mean, I guess statistically you can say that. We're also talking about like two very different players that had different expectations coming into the league. Now, I believe John Elway got benched at least once in his rookie season, but I also don't believe he started that rookie season as the starter. I think he got inserted later and then taken out again. I do remember he threw a lot of interceptions. Just remember, like looking it up. So from that standpoint, certainly Bo has been better, but we're also talking about two different eras of football completely, right, Jared?
Yeah, and that's hard too to talk about when we talked about we talked at length about this, and really what it comes down to is we're in a league of show me what you got now. I think we're not doing very good with their quarterbacks and putting them behind veterans because there's so many quarterbacks needed that we don't have the capability to be like, hey, let's draft Bo Nix and put him behind Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham, right? Like we just didn't have that capability. We needed a quarterback that can go out there and do the thing. That and I mean, if you look at some of the greats that we know of, especially for Broncos country, John Elway, Peyton Manning. If you look at some of even like going back to like who are some of the other Elway, like Dan Marino, like none of them had good rookie seasons.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
They just let them develop in the system. They let them develop with their coach, and they let them. And we're just in a win now league where we're in a win now league where we need a quarterback. We need him to go out there and do it. Like you see Caleb Williams struggling in Chicago, and they're already asking for his head, like to send him on. Like we just can't be doing that. And I think Bo is showing that he has the capability of doing something.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy. I can't tell you how happy I am that he is, even with a 5-5 record, playing as well as he is, to where Broncos country isn't like send him the road. Like we all believe, right? We talked about it. And it's so refreshing to finally have the quarterback where we're like, yes, we have him. And it's not like preseason, like everybody said Russell Wilson, we got Russell Wilson, like, yes, we have our quarterback, let's go. We actually have one that's playing, and he's playing well. He's learning, and he's doing the things that he needs to do. So it's just a refreshing feeling in Broncos country, regardless of if we make the playoffs this year or not. I think it's a successful season for him. We keep improving over time, and then next year we're in the hunt. Next year we're in the battles, and we can just build off of that. And being 5-5 right now, and having that feeling is just, it's nice. We're on a 2-game lose streak, David, and I'm feeling good.
Like, I know. Because man, all right, sure, the Ravens game. But it feels like you can write off the Ravens game as a little bit of a blip, right? Like, man, I think back to that game too, specifically, and just thinking about how close it was at the first half to being a completely different game. Yeah. Like it really came down to a couple of fourth downs in the red zone that just changed the complexion of that game completely for the Broncos and made it out of hand really fast.
The big play at the end of half is really, I think, the big turning point in that game, right?
Well,
they went up
and that allowed
the big touchdown second half,
Right. Yeah. Second half. And then right out of the second half, they score again. And that was it. That was the end of the day. So yeah. And then of course you come back, you respond really well next week. You by all rights should have beaten the Chiefs on their turf. The only undefeated team in the NFL. And so now you come into this game and you may be feeling that pressure a little bit, but only in that way that teams who are actually building something feel that pressure. Like teams who expect more of themselves than that are the teams that really respond well and come out against a team. I don't think anybody's overlooking the Falcons, but coming out against a team like the Falcons who, everybody's expecting you now that what you've showed to go out there and play them close. And that you have that expectation on you, and you have even higher expectations on yourself. That's how you prove yourself as a team that can still be playing in January, right? If you respond that way. Yeah, absolutely.
And just so much confidence in Broncos country right now, with even at a 5-5 record, there's just a lot of confidence in this team and confidence in each other. I missed it. We're a little bit past halftime, but make sure you guys are posting your questions, comments, concerns. We'll get to them here in a second, but I need to do our pluggables. David normally does the pluggables for the podcast, so I'm going to take my shot, David. Let's see how this goes. So welcome. Thank you guys for watching. This is the Orange Weekly Broadcast Network. We have so much content for you guys. We have our flagship show is every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure you guys are joining on those ones. We have a lot of great conversation with a lot of great people talking about what happened the game before, what happens next, and some of the big stuff like we're talking about today in overall implications. Then we have you're watching right now, you're watching the Tailgate Talk, hour before kickoff. Sit here and talk about the game. Make sure you join us here at halftime, the original halftime hash, the original halftime show. Everybody knows what you're doing. You're going to refill your drinks. You're going to refill your snacks. Make sure you pull up that phone and take a listen to what we got to say. And then make sure you're commenting. Let us know what you think on the half of the game. And then obviously make sure you're jumping over to your podcast listening devices, Stitcher, Google, Apple, iTunes, all the other things to download the Orange Weekly podcast. We do a post-game show and then a pre-game show where we break down. It's a little bit more in-depth about players and schemes. And make sure you guys are downloading those and hitting subscribe. But we have lots of content for you guys. So thank you for joining us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button here. And so you never miss it. Head over to our YouTube page and hit the subscribe button there. That'll help us out a lot. Really appreciate you guys tuning in, listening, and having these conversations because we are absolutely having a great time with you guys. back to the conversations, David.
Back to the conversations, Jared. And so first we've got a good comment from Michael where you're definitely going to be comparing Bo and all of our quarterbacks to Elway and Manning just because that's kind of the franchise history that we've been given. And you're certainly right, Michael. It's a big legacy to look up to, but at least right now, Bo is not looking like he is, not up to the task, right? And, to Gary's point here, he's moving up. He's getting better every game. He keeps learning. Absolutely correct. Absolutely, Gary, be knocking back some of this Breckenridge Distillery Broncos blend. Absolutely, every single week, one of our favorite choices here at Orange Weekly. Andrew, yes, Kev Dan is at the game today. He is going to be, I don't know if he'll be reporting live at halftime. Sometimes he does, but the connection is usually spotty. He will be lending his voice, though.
I think he's going to jump on. I think keep an eye on the YouTube, keep an eye on the Facebook. I think he's going to jump in randomly and do some live reactions at the game. So make sure you guys are checking that out.
Nice. Allison, do we think the Bills will beat the Chiefs? I hope so. Somebody better. I don't know. I've never been like, the Bills kind of guy. I don't really like the Bills that much either. But man, I hate the Chiefs. Somebody beat the damn Chiefs. Somebody beat them.
I think it's the Bills. I think they haven't honestly been playing as a 7-0 team right now, or whatever they are, with 9-0, whatever they are.
Yeah,
they're not playing like that. They're playing not great football overall. And if the Broncos had a couple mistakes here and there, they would have lost to us. I think they're going to lose to the Buffalo Bills this week. Where is that game? Is that in Buffalo or in Kansas City?
I believe it's in Kansas City, but let me look. I'm looking at it right now.
I can pull it up. Well, I have it.
I'll pull it up faster.
When is that game? It's this afternoon. It's in Buffalo. Looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
there you go.
That's an even better thing for the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills knock off the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's going to give them their one loss. It's going to give them their okay, we don't have to be perfect anymore, which is also unfortunate. But I think the Buffalo Bills knock off the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, I hope so. And I'm going to allow us to have a little bit of a P-word conversation, just a small one. Okay, Jared?
Okay.
Because if we are going to think about the implications, the P-word implications, the scoreboard this morning does have some relevance for this Denver Broncos team. The Dolphins, who are already, I think, a game back in the wild card race as far as things go, are winning today against the Raiders. But you know what, Broncos, go. Well, no, they're only up 24-19 now, but they do have the ball with 3.5 minutes left, so they can probably run that.
I'm showing 31-19.
Oh, okay. Well, they may have just scored. So you may be a little bit more up to date than that. But the Jets are now up 27-22 on the Colts, which is big for the Broncos. If the Colts lose that one, I think they're basically out of it if the Colts lose that one. And then we are hoping that the Chargers can take down the Bengals on Monday. Is it tonight? Yeah, that's tonight. Sunday night football. Tonight. Yep. So there's kind of the rundown.
And you look at it, right? The Chargers are 6-3. They jumped us for number 2 in the AFC West after last couple 2 games that we had downfalls. They're sneaky. They're a team in the league that people are like, kind of counting them out, but they're still 6-3, just like the Falcons, right? They're still. I
don't think anybody's counting. I think
6-4.
They're the 5th seed right now in the AFC. I think and at this point you want them to keep winning because you can have the 5th seed. The Broncos, I think if the Broncos win the 7th seed with the first year of Bo Nix, I am so excited for the Copes, Jared. The Copes from certain national media types who just couldn't stop talking about how Bo Nix wasn't going to be a starting quarterback. And then the early season, oh man, they were so happy. And there's still a certain influential Twitter account that has Bo Nix ranked 30th in QB ranking in the. So I am so excited to see how they contort their minds around this if it happens, Jared.
Yeah, and it's not going to be public because they're going to be starting to delete some tweets after Bo Nix makes it to the playoffs. There's going to be some deleted tweets and be like, yeah, no, I believed in this guy all along, right? But we know in Broncos country we have, and we've at least at the beginning of the season we hoped for it, and it just feels nice that we have our quarterback, and it's not regardless of, unless he goes out and just throws poop games for the rest of the season, which I just don't see. We have our quarterback of the future, and we finally have it. We can start building around it, and we can go forward, and that's what we need. But really, it starts with this week. It starts with here in about 15 minutes. kickoff in about 15 minutes. It starts with the Atlanta Falcons. And if we get
Absolutely.
this win, we talked about it before, right? We had a three-game tread of very tough games. Ravens, Chiefs, now the Falcons. We need to win at least one of them to stay relevant. We wanted to win two of them, and we almost won last week, right?
Yeah.
And you win two of them, now you're being talked about. You win one of them, you stay relevant. You lose all three of them, relevancy goes out the window. I think we looked at the stats, David. I think they were posted. A loss here brings our chances to making the playoffs down to like 30% or something like that. And a win here kicks it up to above 50. So I don't know. It's a big game. There's a lot of implications. It's not a playoff game. If we lose this one, I'm not going to lose sleep tonight. But at the same time, like we win this one, and all of a sudden we're back in relevancy, and it keeps it as an exciting season in Broncos country.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like we've talked about how young this team is, but man, if you go out there and win today, and you take care of business and take control of your destiny, I think that brings so much confidence to a young team with a coaching staff like this in front of them. And the team hasn't been in the situation, right? But the coaching staff has. They've been in a situation where they are in control of their destiny going into important games down the stretch, and they know how to handle that situation and can show these players what to do. So I am, I think that's a really important confidence booster for these young players if you can go out there and do that. But just go impose your will. Go beat this team that's pretty good, and take care of business at home, and make sure you can still talk about the P word if you want to after today.
Yeah, absolutely. It all starts here in about 15 minutes, and we're here for it. I know you guys are here for it, and we're ready for this game to kick off. Before we get to our score predictions, make sure you guys are posting your score predictions in there. Let us know what you think. I think if you get it right, shoot us a message, and we will go back and look at it, verify, and then we'll send you something, I think, at the end of the season. We talked about the pregame podcast. All three of us on the pregame podcast, me, you, and Spotty, all picked the Broncos to win this one. I think I called it a shootout. I think it was going to be something where over 60 points in the game, 33-29 or 33-30, something like that. And you were a little bit lower in the expectation of the game. And this is a real strength on strength matchup, man. It's a real strength on strength matchup where our defense is our strength, their offense is their strength, and then it's weakness on weakness. Our offense is, we call it weakness, but it's still learning, it's still young, and their defense is not great. So this game really could go either way. And any given Sunday, you can have something go wrong, right? One small fumble turns into a fumble recovery for a touchdown, and that's completely changed the game. So what are we expecting from this game, and what is your score prediction, David?
I think I'm going to stick with 30-23 Broncos. I think it's going to be a relatively high scoring game, not quite as high as you. I think we'll see both passing offenses, or just both offenses in general, come alive a little bit at times. But I do think the Broncos end up taking this one, maybe like a final drive touchdown, but that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. I'm going to stick with this, and this isn't like a making headlines statement or comment. I'm not trying to, get the clicks here. But I think whoever wins the turnover battle wins this game. Okay. Bold.
Right. We need it. Bold. We need to, bold statement, right?
A real onion hanger there, Jared.
But really what it comes down to, like, we need to no fumbles, no interceptions. And we need to be, if we can get a couple fumbles, couple interceptions, if we get one, that really sets us up for this game. And I think that's going to be the difference maker, because I think both offenses have the capability of doing good things, which is why I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think we see very little of the punter. Maybe in the first half, the first quarter, we'll probably see the punter a little bit as people are starting to get used to the game and what they're playing against. But I hope we see the punter a little bit less on the offensive side for the Broncos. So yeah, I think 33-30 is what I'm gonna stick with. I think we win the game. Or maybe a 31-30, something along those lines. And it's going to be a close game. It's not going to be a blowout. Unless, I hope it is. If it's 30-17 for the Broncos, I'm going to come back here with a drink in my hand and be like, let's go, right? I called this. We got 30 points. But so let's look at yours. All right. So we got Allison, 28-21 Broncos. Anthony, 27-13 Broncos. You think we're going to pull it away and win that game big? And even bigger, Andrew, with the 32-17 Broncos, thinking that we're just going to do it. Paula, 31-24. Everyone thinks we're scoring, 27, 28, 31, 32. We're getting we're getting some big plays, and we're getting in the end zone, which I love. I love that we're confident able to say that.
Right. Right. I love that. Right. Like you have so much faith in this Broncos offense to just go show you something. Right. It feels so different. Like, yeah.
It's just nice. Michael says receivers need to catch the ball. I think a lot of that is, Bo's got to deliver the ball. But yeah, catch the ball. I think if Franklin can make some of those catches, going back to an earlier comment about Franklin having a big game, that'd be awesome. I think Bailey is really on it. Gary says 24-17. He's thinking a little bit lower of a score, 24-17 Broncos. But again, win by a touchdown, and I love that. I love being up and not being a 1-2 score, a 1 or 2 point game. All right, Absolutely. Game starts here in about 5 minutes or 10 minutes? What am I looking at? What is it?
Yeah, we're about 10 minutes away from kickoff. I am just watching this fucking slobber knocker of a Ravens-Steelers game. And
oh man.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot of there's a lot of Denver Russell Wilson in this game. I'll say that, but
they're still winning though. At least they got that going for them.
No, they still got that going for them, which is nice. I think they just traded interceptions. First, Baltimore picked off the ball in the end zone, and then on a craziest takeaway on a downfield play I've ever seen. The Steelers stripped a ball back. It's tough out here. That's AFC North football, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, and you hate to see it. The Colts are up by a point. Go on, Jared.
All right. Well, we're at it. We have about 10 minutes till kickoff. So let's end this with our final thoughts. Get you guys back to fill up your drinks, grab your snacks, turn the surround sound on, and get ready to watch this Broncos with the visiting Falcons. Sorry, I was going to say at Falcons. I forgot. We're at home. So the Falcons visiting your Denver Broncos here in about 10 minutes. So final thoughts, David.
Final thoughts, man. I don't know, man. It just feels so good to be in this position, even after 2 losses like we're talking about, right? I don't think it's false confidence. I keep thinking that. Maybe is this just false confidence? But no, you're at 5-5 when your over-under season win total was 5.5, and you feel better about your starting quarterback every single week. And you really, even if this isn't the season that you get to the playoffs, you feel like the Broncos are a team that can draft really well if they draft really well. And we'll see about that. But if they draft really well, can really make some noise in the AFC next year. And that's so encouraging to be of a position to be in. And it starts with a young quarterback. And that's really cool.
That's huge, I think. I think the consistency is huge. We haven't had consistency in a long time. And I think knowing that we're going to bring back all the big players going forward, and we don't really have, like you said, in the draft we're coming up, we're looking at possibly just picking up the best player available. And it's nice to be in that position as opposed to having a handful of gaps that we need to fill. So yeah, I'm feeling super confident. I'm actually really feeling maybe possibly overconfident about this game going against an Atlanta Falcons who are 6-4. They're winners. And we need to play the best Broncos football we can in front of our home crowd. And I think we have the capability of doing it. That's the best part about this, is we all know we have the capability of beating any team that steps on that field. And in Broncos country, for those of you that are at the game or know someone's at the game, be loud, right? This is the time to be proud of your Broncos. This is the time to just be happy that you're a Broncos fan. All the things that we've dealt with over the past 7 years, all the things that we've had to go through, the quarterback carousel, we're here. We're finally having a consistent game. Let's see what happens. And I'm excited to see the future of this team, but I'm excited to see them go out there and play the Atlanta Falcons today here in about 5 minutes. So, all right. I think that's all we got, David. I appreciate you joining me. Thank you guys all for watching. Andrew, Paula, Anthony, Allison, Michael, Gary, lots to list here. Thank you guys all for jumping in and commenting. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be right back here at halftime, breaking down the half, seeing what we need to do to adjust in the second half, if there is anything. And we'll be here for you. So make sure you pick up your phone and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know that we're going live, and we'll be here for you. So we'll see you then. Other than that, we just ended off, as we always do, on a very strong Go
Broncos.